Vanished Princess case, the case that goes nowhere on purpose. If you've ever spent time in Van Horn Trading Post, you've probably seen this poster and then immediately stopped what you were doing. A missing person notice, a royal name. Princess Isabeau Katharina Zinsmeister. According to the poster, she disappeared years ago, and that's basically where the information ends. No trail, no quest marker, no follow-up mission, just a piece of paper nailed to a wall in one of the most unpleasant towns in the game. And that's what makes it unsettling. The story says she was a princess from Luxembourg who vanished while visiting her family's hunting lodge in the United States back in 1884, which already raises questions. What was a European royal doing out here? Why Van Horn of all places? And how does someone like that just disappear without leaving anything behind? Normally in Red Dead Redemption 2, when the game dangles a mystery in front of you, it eventually lets you resolve it. You track someone down, you find remains, you uncover the truth, even if it's ugly. Not this time. Players have searched everywhere. Die-ins, swamps, towns, random NPCs. Nothing ever confirms what happened to her. There's no hidden mission, no secret encounter, no body. The poster is literally the only solid proof she ever existed, and that's where things get weird. Data miners have found a model of an adult woman labeled as a Sabot in the game files, which suggests there was once a plan to include her, possibly as someone you could find years later. Maybe she survived, maybe she changed identities, maybe she was never meant to be rescued, just recognized. But none of that made it into the final game. So now you're left with this uncomfortable possibility. Either she's long dead, forgotten by the world, or she's alive somewhere, unrecognizable, and the game refuses to give you closure. And Van Horn feels like the perfect place for that kind of story to rot quietly. Just a missing person poster flapping in the wind, years after anyone stopped looking. That's what makes this one of the most haunting, unsolved crimes in Red Dead Redemption 2. Not because it's violent, but because the game lets you care, then never lets you know. And for me, that's worse. Person disappearing crime.
Gavin.
Mister?
If you've played Red Dead Redemption 2 for more than a few hours, you've heard it. Gavin? Gavian? And the first time, it's funny. The second time, it's confusing. By the 10th time, it starts getting unsettling. Nigel is everywhere. He wanders towns, roads, train stations, swamps, shouting the same name with the same desperate tone year after year in game time. He's clearly not from around here. He's British, overdressed, completely out of place in the Wild West, and clinging to one thing: finding Gavin. The problem is, Gavin never shows up. Ever. Players have searched the entire map. Every town, every stranger encounter, every file name. There is no Gavin. No body, no hidden NPC, no secret cabin, no journal entry confirming he was ever real. And that's where the mystery stops being funny. Because Nigel isn't acting like someone who lost a casual acquaintance. He's panicked, confused, stuck in a loop. He talks about Gavin like someone who is always there, always reliable, always part of his identity, which raises a really uncomfortable question. What happened to Gavin? And did someone kill him or did some other things? A lot of players believe Nigel is suffering from a fractured personality, clinging to an imaginary friend or a lost version of himself. The fact that Nigel carries letters that only talk about Gavin in vague, almost circular ways doesn't help. Nothing verifiable, just reassurance that Gavin was great and that Gavin mattered. Others think Gavin was real, but ran. Maybe he abandoned Nigel on purpose. Maybe he changed his name. Maybe he wanted nothing to do with the man still shouting his name across an entire continent like a haunted parrot. And the game never confirms either version. That's what makes Gavin's disappearance an unsolved crime. Not because there's evidence of murder or foul play, but because something is clearly broken and the game refuses to tell you what. Did someone vanish? Did someone escape? Or is Nigel chasing a ghost that only exists in his own mind? Red Dead Redemption 2 never answers that question. Nigel just keeps walking, keeps shouting, keeps looking, and Gavin remains missing forever, which, honestly, might be the most realistic ending of all. Rituals crime, the crime that refuses to explain itself. Red Dead Redemption 2 has no shortage of dead bodies. You get pretty used to that, but every now and then, the game drops one that makes you stop and say, okay, what was that? This is one of those. Near Strawberry, tucked away where you don't expect much more than trees and wildlife, there's a ritual site. Symbols, carved into stone, strange rock formations, and right in the middle of it, half of a mutilated body wearing a mask. Not a random corpse or a robbery gone wrong. This feels deliberate. The symbols don't explain themselves, and the body looks like it was placed there for a reason. Whatever happened here wasn't messy or impulsive. It was planned. And that's where the mystery starts. Naturally, players tried everything. They inspected the mask. They searched the area. They waited around to see if something would trigger. At first, it was simple curiosity. Then, because this is the internet, it escalated quickly. People started bringing NPCs to the site, tying them up, sacrificing them, seeing if the symbols would react, if the rocks would move, if the game would acknowledge what was happening. Sometimes, weird things do happen. Bodies appear in different states of decay. Corpses clip through the ground. The scene looks slightly different depending on timing or actions. Enough to make you feel like something is happening, but never enough to explain what. To make it worse, similar symbols can be found elsewhere on the map, especially in the swamps near Lagros. Same style, same unsettling vibe. Like this ritual wasn't a one-time thing, but part of something bigger that the game never lets you see fully. And no matter how much players experiment, nothing ever resolves. Just a crime scene frozen in time. That's what makes this one so unsettling. It feels like a puzzle, but maybe it isn't. Maybe it's just environmental storytelling that hints at something darker without caring whether you understand it. Or maybe the answer exists, buried behind some absurdly specific set of actions no one has stumbled into yet. Either way, players keep coming back, testing and waiting, and the ritual site just sits there, silent, watching. Which makes you wonder, is this an unsolved crime? Or is the crime thinking it ever wanted to be solved at all? Mass grave. Crime-a-town that ended all at once. Lemoyne already has a bad vibe. Swamps, old grudges, people who smile a little too late. But even by Lemoyne standards, Pleasance feels wrong the second you step into it. At first glance, it looks like just another abandoned settlement. A few buildings, a church, nothing dramatic. And then you notice the graveyard. 10 graves, different ages, same date, September 1883. That's when it hits you. This wasn't people drifting away over time. Whatever happened in Pleasance happened fast, and it wiped the town out in one go. Every grave is marked. Names, ages, dates, men, women, children. Nobody was spared. And the fact that someone took the time to bury them properly makes it even stranger. This wasn't a wild animal attack. This wasn't random violence in the middle of the night. This was a massacre, followed by silence. The town itself adds to the confusion. Pleasance was founded the same year everyone died, which means the settlement barely existed before it ended. Inside the buildings, things feel unfinished. Furniture left behind, personal items still there. It looks like people expected to come back. Like they thought whatever was happening would pass. It didn't. There's no journal explaining it. Players have searched for clues everywhere. Disease, cult activity, racial violence, religious extremism. All of it fits. None of it fully explains the scene. And that's the most unsettling part. The game clearly wants you to notice Pleasance. It puts the graves front and center. It gives you names and dates. It wants you to ask questions. It just refuses to answer them. No ghosts appear. No secret mission unlocks. No late game reveal ties it together. Pleasance stays frozen in that moment, like the world moved on and forgot it ever existed. Which honestly feels realistic in the worst way. Some crimes don't get justice. Some places just die and nobody outside ever learns why. Pleasance is one of those places. And every time you ride past it, the graves are still there, quietly reminding you that whatever happened in September of 1883 was bad enough to erase an entire town. And the game is perfectly fine letting it stay that way. The Closed Saloon crime. The crime scene that never explains itself. Every now and then, Red Dead Redemption 2 does something quietly unsettling. No mission prompt, just a locked feeling that something went very wrong here. This saloon is one of those places. It's been closed for a long time, but the door isn't locked, which already feels intentional, like the game wants you to walk in and notice what's left behind. And the moment you step inside, it's obvious this wasn't a peaceful shutdown. There's blood on the floor, right near the bar, not a small stain either. It's spread out like someone fell or was dragged. Right next to it, broken glass, beer bottles, shattered, which usually means one thing in this game. A fight, the kind that got out of hand. Then you notice the bullet holes. 3 of them punched into the far wall near the back door, and they're not random. They form a triangle. That's the part that really sticks, because random panic shooting doesn't usually line up that neatly. Someone stood their ground here. Someone aimed. Now here's where it gets even stranger. Inside the saloon, there's a door on the left that you can't open. Outside, there's another door in the same spot, also inaccessible. But it's obvious there's a room back there, a room you are not allowed to see, which immediately raises the question, why show us a space and then refuse to let us enter it? If you walk out the back door and turn right, things get even darker. There's a headstone nearby. The name reads Joshua Burgess. So now you're standing there, connecting dots that the game never confirms. A struggle, broken bottles, blood, gunshots, a hidden room, and a man buried nearby with a very carefully chosen explanation for his death. Was it really an accident? Or was that the story someone settled on afterward? Did Joshua Burgess get shot during a bar fight that went too far? Did someone panic and cover it up? Did whatever happened in that back room never make it out outside? And why close the saloon, but leave everything else untouched? There's no quest to solve this. You're left with a crime scene that still exists, a man still buried nearby, and a story that clearly doesn't want to be simple. And maybe that's the point. Some murders don't get dramatic endings. Some places just close their doors and move on. And sometimes accidentally shot is just the cleanest lie everyone agrees to live with. Whatever really happened here, Red Dead Redemption 2 never tells you. And that silence feels deliberate. The witch's corpse in Ambarino, a death everyone explains away. Up north in Ambarino, far away from anything resembling civilization, there's a place that immediately feels wrong. Like someone did something terrible here and then just walked away. You find an abandoned hideout. In the center, a large cauldron sitting over a fire pit. No signs of struggle, no blood everywhere, just a setup that suggests someone spent time here, planned something, lived here long enough to build a routine. And of course, because this is Red Dead Redemption 2, Arthur tastes whatever is in the pot. Because Arthur Morgan has never once thought, maybe I shouldn't drink mystery liquid in the wilderness. He faints, wakes up hours later, several meters away. Already strange, but not a crime yet. The crime shows up later. Elsewhere on the map, Arthur can find the body of a woman, dead, alone. No ceremony and explanation. When Arthur sees her, he writes in his journal, "I think I met a witch, or a woman who wanted to be one." That line does a lot of work, because it immediately pushes players toward the supernatural explanation and away from the uncomfortable one. A woman lived alone, frightened people, and was labeled strange. And now she's dead. Here's the problem. The game never shows her dying, never shows her attacking anyone, never confirms she poisoned Arthur on purpose. All we know for sure is that she existed, she lived out there, and she ended up dead. So what actually happened? Did someone kill her because they believed she was dangerous? Did a passerby panic, assume the worst, and act first? Did someone decide a witch didn't deserve to live nearby? There's no evidence of magic, just a cauldron, some herbs, and isolation. And historically, a lot of women killed for no good reason. The body just exists, and Arthur moves on. That's what makes this an unsolved crime, not a fantasy encounter. The game lets the label do the work. Witch, strange woman, problem solved, except it isn't. Someone died alone in the wilderness, and everyone, including the player, is encouraged not to ask too many questions. The supernatural explanation is easier. It's cleaner, and of course it avoids blame. And Red Dead Redemption 2 never corrects you, and whoever actually killed her, whether out of fear, ignorance, or cruelty, walks away without consequence. Because sometimes, calling something magic is just a way to stop asking who pulled the trigger. The severed arm in the swamp. The catch nobody asked Fad for.
Jean-Marc? Is that you?
Fishing in Red Dead Redemption 2 is usually peaceful. You find a quiet spot, cast a line, wait, maybe get bitten by a mosquito the size of a horse. Normal stuff. But if you fish in a very specific spot in the swamps behind the mayor's house in Saint Denis, the game decides to ruin your day. Instead of a fish, you reel in an arm, a human arm, still wearing part of a sleeve. And the game does not react to this at all. No mission update, no follow-up. Arthur doesn't comment. The world just keeps moving like this is a completely reasonable thing to pull out of the water, which makes it deeply unsettling. The swamps of Lemoyne are already a bad place. Crocodiles, bandits, night folk, bodies disappear there all the time. If someone wanted to get rid of evidence, this would be the place to do it. The water is thick, dark, and unforgiving. But here's the thing, you don't accidentally lose just an arm. This wasn't an animal attack that left scraps behind. Crocodiles don't surgically remove limbs and politely deposit them near a fishing spot. This was dismemberment, deliberate, and that immediately turns it into a crime. So whose arm is it? Was it part of a body dumped in the swamp that never surfaced? Was it connected to one of Saint Denis' many unseen crimes? Did it belong to someone powerful enough that no one asked questions afterward? The mayor's house being nearby does not help the vibes. Saint Denis is full of corruption, secrets, and people who disappear quietly. The swamp sits right behind all of it, like a trash bin nobody wants to talk about. And yet, nothing ever comes of it. You just fish up an arm, put it away, and move on. That's what makes this one so effective as an unsolved crime. And the only trace that ever surfaces is something you catch on a fishing line. Then it sinks back into the swamp, forgotten. Just proof that in Red Dead Redemption 2, some crimes don't even get the dignity of being noticed. And that might be the most realistic part of all. The hanging body crime. A crime that wanted to be seen. If you follow the train tracks south of Valentine, there's a spot where the game quietly dares you to look closer. Under a railway bridge near Citadel Rock, something is hanging from the wooden rafters. At first, your brain tries to make sense of it in pieces because the whole picture is too much all at once. It's a torso, carefully suspended, like it was placed there on purpose. Then you notice the head. It's not attached to the body. It's mounted nearby, fixed to a wooden beam, positioned so it's impossible to miss. And stuffed inside the mouth is a piece of paper, which is basically part of a map. This is not a crime committed in panic. This is not a fight gone wrong. This is staging. Whoever did this didn't just kill someone. They disassembled them, transported the body, chose a public location and arranged the remains like a display. The bridge matters. Trains pass overhead. People travel this route. Someone wanted this to be discovered. And then there's the writing. Painted on the rocks nearby are the words, "Look on my works." That line alone changes everything. This isn't about hiding a crime. It's about being witnessed. The killer isn't running. They're inviting attention, almost mocking it, like they're daring someone to understand what they've done. So the questions start piling up. Why divide the body like this? Why leave a map instead of a message? Why choose a place tied to travel and movement where strangers would stumble into it? And maybe the most disturbing question, why turn a human being into a puzzle? The victim is never identified here, just remains and clues, as if their identity mattered less than the statement made with their body. And the game does something interesting. It doesn't rush you. It doesn't tell you what to think. It lets the scene sit there, unchanged, waiting for someone to connect dots that may or may not belong together. Even if you move on, the image sticks. A person was taken apart, displayed, and turned into a message. Someone went to great lengths to make sure this wasn't ignored, and whoever did it clearly believed their work deserved to be remembered. That's what makes this one of the most disturbing unsolved crimes in Red Dead Redemption 2.